Welcome to The Growth Show with me as your host, Joe Camerato. I am an entrepreneur who created my company, National Business Capital, from literally $0 out of my spare bedroom to over $2 billion in business loans secured for entrepreneurs nationwide. Since 2007, I have seen just about every type of business. I provide money and help entrepreneurs access capital to scale fast, but I also know that it's possible for you as you scale to replace yourself, to build systems, processes, and great teams of people that can live on without you so you can actually enjoy your life and your company can still grow. I will not only tell you the peaks and valleys of my story, but I will also bring on world-class entrepreneurs to tell their stories and share their lessons on their growth journeys. Welcome to The Growth Show. All right, welcome to The Growth Show with me as your host, Joe Camerato. In this show, we're always talking about people growing, entrepreneurs making it happen. Super excited to have Lynn Smith on today, CEO of Rylan Media. Lynn is a powerhouse. She spent 15 years on the Today Show, NBC News, MSNBC, and CNN Headline News, which is just awesome. And then she said, screw all that. I'm going to quit and I'm going to go start my own thing and be an entrepreneur. And that's exactly why she's on the show today, because we're going to talk about that journey, how she moved from, what an amazing career to probably now it's even more amazing and rewarding. And we're going to talk about that stuff. So thank you for being on today, Lynn.
Thanks for having me, Joe. And yes, you are right. It is incredibly rewarding to start your own business. And I'm really excited to chat about it with you.
It's rewarding and
and terrifying
all the time. Yeah, exactly.
Rewarding and terrifying all at the same time.
It's the most opposite thing that you can be involved in, rewarding to oh my God. And that can happen all within the same day, which is pretty interesting.
Exactly. I'm having to control that roller coaster of emotions, but I'm married to an entrepreneur, so I knew what I was getting myself into.
Nice. Well, that helps. Now there's two crazies in one house. That's awesome.
Right. I have no hope.
That is great. I read something once and it said the journey of an entrepreneur. One day you're on the brink of bankruptcy. You turn it all around and then you're ready to jump off a building and then you get an offer to sell your business. And it's
it's not for the faint of heart is what I tell people. And you have to have an extreme tolerance for disappointment and failure. And I actually learned how to look at failure in a super exciting way. That mindset shift for me in my business, where now when I fail, I look at it like I changed the word from fail to lesson. We'd never say we're afraid of lessons. We'd say we're afraid of failing. And so it's really helped me as an entrepreneur to say oh, good, this means I'm one step closer to my success.
That's exactly right. That's good stuff. And it's all mindset. It's 80% mindset, 20% strategy. So if you don't have that in check, you for sure will not make it. It's super important. And I think it's important, even if you've done well, to check yourself on mindset, because you go through challenging times in life and in business and you got to, just get yourself back on the right path.
Yeah.
It's really important. So talk to me about, how long ago did you get started that you started, as an entrepreneur, but just put me in that moment where you probably said, fuck it, I'm going to take the leap. And I want to know about that moment, because that everyone's got that moment that got started.
Yeah, that was my exact words.
Well, they were mine too.
Yeah, I mean, I'd been a news anchor.
Universal.
Exactly. I'd been a news anchor for 15 years. The pandemic happens. I'm on that hamster wheel of being a news anchor where you're just going. You don't realize how insane your life is, that you get up at 3:00 in the morning until you are outside of the life. And I look back now and I'm like, how did I even do that for so long? But during the pandemic, my show was taken off the air because a lot of our producers at Headline News had to go to CNN, what we called the mothership, where we were a sister network of CNN. And I was home for the first time ever, watching my kids grow up and seeing all that I was missing out on. And I also was seeing the potential I could have when I'm not somebody else's product, right? Like when you're a W-2, you're a number. You're a product that they have ownership of you. And so I saw the potential of like, wow, I could go do this. I could go do this. And no, I don't have anyone to answer to. And it started to get more and more real as I built the programs. And I did all of this during that year. And then I said, fuck it, let's go do it. And you have to. It's the same thing I tell people when they're going into media appearances, because now I train people to be on the media and then get them booked on TV. I tell them it's kind of like a bungee jump. You have to walk
Yeah.
up the ledge. It's terrifying, but you have to trust that cord that's hooking you. That's
Yep.
actually your expertise. That's your skill set is going to catch
Yep.
you. You have to trust
Yeah.
it. And that's what I did.
That's awesome. And I guess what training you had, because being a news anchor and doing what you're doing, getting up at 3 a.m. and like being on and nonstop. I mean, it really is an entrepreneur. I mean, even when I was rock and rolling and nonstop, I was still getting up at like 5 or 6, So in a way, it probably prepped you. It's kind of interesting because I think what you're saying is like almost like it seems like this has been easier, which is amazing because usually it's like the other way around. I mean, there's still moments and now you got to make it happen and you're responsible to generate your income. Like it's all on you now. But it's funny, most people think initially that they make those moves and that leap and it's going to be like less work and easier. Now you're the boss.
Oh no. Oh no. Even for me, I'm putting in way more hours. I'm still getting up at 4:45. Like if people think I'm crazy, I'm like, are you kidding? 4:45 is like sleeping in. But you're 24/7. I work weekends. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're never not working, but I love work. It's not that I didn't like the hours because of the work. It was just the lifestyle. I wasn't able to be the kind of mom I wanted to be, and I wasn't making the impact I wanted to make. Journalism has
Yeah.
changed. I felt like I
Yeah.
was more of a problem than a solution.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. And that's a whole nother topic that we'll save
Do you have
for the
another
next
show for that?
yeah. We'll save for the show that no one wants to watch. So did you always want to be an anchor? How did that happen? And give me a funny story about being an anchor.
Well, I'll give you the story of when I was 7 years old and they have a video of me pretending to be a news anchor. I didn't even really understand what news anchor meant, but I was giving the news from, a desk, and my sister did the commercials. So I guess that was always in my blood, so to speak, but I fell into the path. I actually went to LA right after college and became an NBC page. I had always wanted to work at NBC. So I was more on the path of entertainment and being, on the entertainment side, not on camera, even just on the behind the scenes. And, when I got a job in New York and I got an opportunity at the Today Show to produce there, they saw potential for me to be on camera and they sent me to Hartford, Connecticut to get some training. And the news director there told me I'd never make it to a top 10 market in 10 years. And 2 years later, I was anchoring in New York in the #1 market. So I always like to tell people that story because, we all have our imposter syndrome or our brain bully, as I call it. And sometimes our brain bully is in front of us and telling it to our face, and we get to decide whether or not we listen to it. So it was just over the years, from different market to national and then to headline news. And along the way, all the craziness that can happen, but it gave me that skill set to now go do something and help train other people to be able to talk in sound bites and be good on TV.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that basically rolls right into your business. Like tell us a little bit about your business and exactly what it is that you're doing, and if someone came to you, how would they work with you?
Yeah. So I work with experts, entrepreneurs, CEOs that know that media appearances and appearing as an expert in the media is game changing for the business, right? Like it's that certification, it's that good housekeeping seal of approval. This person's not a serial killer. They've been on CNN. So I want to do business with this person. And so it brings in leads and you can charge more for keynotes and things like that. And so I have a program that's called the Green Room where I do this media training so that, everybody's wondering like, how do you talk in 35 to 45 second sound bites? Or how am I comfortable on the camera that I can look through the lens and somebody connects with you? And then, I was approached by one of my former colleagues at the Today Show who started a company that works directly with newsrooms, and they wanted to have an expert vertical. And so I was brought in to play matchmaker between networks and the experts. And so now we have sort of the pipes. I was booking them already, but we have the pipes where we can get people on some of the most major platforms in the country. So it's pretty exciting.
That is really exciting. So tell me about that. Like when you meet someone or see someone, you were like, "That's a star," or some people say, "Oh, you can train and teach anyone anything." I don't think that's true. I think some people are made for certain things, and some definitely aren't. And I would think being on TV, it's either like you got it or you don't. But I'm just curious your take on that.
I think if you're looking to become a reporter or a news anchor, yes, you either got it or you don't. And there's something, it's like that it factor. And I can usually watch a video within 5 seconds, I can see it. And that's the same
Okay.
for experts. Like I can see when we're considering booking someone, if they've done media before, I can watch and within 3 to 5 seconds, I can know whether or not they'll be good on TV. And the same with anyone in a newsroom, they can smell talent when it comes to that. When it, I was very surprised when I started coaching people how much wider of a range there is for people to learn this method. Initially, I'll give you a great example. One of my clients who was, not in the vicinity of me thinking I would be able to get him on TV. He showed up on our first call and he had his headset on and he was talking like this and he's like, "Hey, I want to be in the media." And I was like, "Well, can we get that energy up? Like, are we going to be able to do this?" And it was because he wanted to so badly and he followed this methodology that actually when he made his first media appearance and he was really funny, he actually made the anchor's joke and the producer texted me and was like, "He's awesome." And I talk about him in my keynote because it's such a case study of if you really want it and you follow this methodology, it works. It
Yeah,
just
no,
works.
that's really awesome. That's exciting. Well, very cool. And besides all this stuff, I mean, you got a lot of things going on, a lot of good things. There's also this stroller coaster. Really, where it's like a parenting podcast. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And is it geared for moms, dads, parents? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I'll be clear, I'm not the parenting expert. I interview parenting
None of
experts,
us are.
and that's like half the time I'm like, "Can you tell me how to do this?" I wanted to in my business be able to still get that rush that I get from the curiosity part of my brain where that's what I love about interviewing. And so when Munchkin, which is the stroller coaster, is by Munchkin, when they approached me about it, it was like, this is a dream. The space that I love talking about, which is my kids, and then appealing to moms and dads. And usually it's like from newborn to, the difficult years and the teen years, we are tackling all different kinds of topics. And so it sort of feels like a different me that I'm able to touch and get into so that I'm like focused on still getting that news anchor Lynn into my business. And, I also do keynote speaking. So that's a way that I can as well, in addition to being a coach.
That's really cool. And how many kids do you have, Len?
I have 2 boys. So it's like having 15 girls, anyone that has boys.
And the 2
They're
boys is like having 10 boys.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
7 and 4 and so much fun. But yeah, it's a mess over here. Hi, if you're coming over to the Smiths, bring alcohol.
Well, the frame is perfect, like it's funny because I have
I
a
know.
7-year-old and a 3-year-old. I have a
Yeah.
7-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old boy, and the boys are at least in my experience are way different.
Oh my gosh.
My
My friends,
son,
their girls are
I'm
like coloring in the corner, and then the boys are like setting things on fire.
yes. That's my daughter is like perfect and neat. And she's like, and then you look at my son, he has like spaghetti sauce all over his face. Like how are you guys eating the same thing?
Exactly. Which your wife probably agrees with me that with our husbands, like not much changes, but we are dealing with it as we go along.
That's exactly right. And we're all figuring out as we go in
Yeah,
life with their kids and in their businesses. I mean, it
that's
just
right.
you don't know it until you do it. And I think that's probably what, probably prevents a lot of people from taking next steps in their businesses or in their lives. It's like the fear of the unknown, or
Yeah.
like you said before, that imposter syndrome. I don't know how to do this. And the best way to know how to do it is just to throw yourself into it, and you find out that you've got more in you than you realize.
Yep. And the other thing that I tell people to do with that imposter syndrome, the brain bully, the saboteur, is to name it. I know this sounds crazy, but name
Nah, I
him or
love it.
her. And most people pick like that person that doubted them in high school, or the person that made fun of them, or mine is mine is Bob, because my son got a fish and named him Bob, and I thought that was hysterical. So anytime that brain bully comes in and I think of Bob, I just start laughing and it makes it go away. And so whatever that is for you, name your brain bully, and then understand that you need to say out loud what it is that you're afraid of. I learned this in coaching. Everything from a startup CEO to a leader of $1 billion company, all of them had the same problem. The version of the brain bully that made them be afraid to fail, made them afraid of their credibility. And I'm thinking, you're a leader of $1 billion company. How can you be worried about that? And so when they said it out loud and started talking about it, because we know this as leaders, it's really difficult to find the person that you feel safe to say that stuff out loud with. So you find that
Yeah.
person, you say it out loud, and you talk yourself out of it. Every single person I've done this exercise with, they've talked themselves out of what they think that fear or weakness is, and it turns into their superpower. And that's how you overcome what those things are.
It's really good stuff, and it's so true. And I see that. I feel like it prevents most people from taking action, taking that next step, and
I think so
and
too.
really, I think in businesses, I just think it's all limiting beliefs. And it's like amazing. Like even in what we're going through now with COVID and all this stuff, you got people like, oh my God, COVID and this and that, and it's like almost like another reason to be able to blame something for not
Mhm.
taking the action. And then you have people who are like, wow, there's so much opportunity, there's been so much good that's come out of this. And it's like perspective and not using that fear to hold you back. and
That's
and
exactly it.
super super important. Well, what's something that you learned as an entrepreneur that you didn't know, moving from entrepreneur to from anchor to entrepreneur?
I think it was the incredible, I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but it's the incredible people that you meet as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are so incredibly creative and supportive of one another, that, you come from a corporate background and a news background, I mean, it can be cutthroat. But when I entered this world, it was like you were joining the commune. It was like, come here, give us a hug. We welcome you in. We are here to
Yeah,
support
yeah,
you. I'm like, this is great. And then they're just so crazy creative.
yeah,
And so you're constantly inspired and you're constantly are up leveling because you just feed off of their energy. And I've never been much of an energy person until I had an energy expert as a client, and I realized how powerful that is. And I see it now. And so I try and interact with as many of them as I can, because it makes me better every single day.
yeah. No, it's really good stuff. It is amazing how supportive other entrepreneurs are of one another, and I think it's all because, like, you start from nothing. You know how hard it is and what it takes, and
That's right.
and usually, like, there were some awesome entrepreneurs that helped me along the way, and now as I've learned and grown, I want to help others, and
Me
and it's
too.
just kind of like this full circle.
Agreed.
Also being a part of I'm a part of YPO, which is Young Presidents Organization. There's also EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, and those are great things. I wish I knew about that stuff earlier on in my business journey. I would have joined them way sooner, because having that work is super powerful. Because when you're an owner, you ask your friends and family questions, and if they don't own businesses, it's really hard to have those conversations. And where do you go for advice? And the best advice to go is entrepreneurs that have a proven track record.
That's
and
right.
and sometimes you can tap into those. I mean, obviously, with what you're doing, you're tapping into those, you know, uh, you know, um, with your business, right? Which is really awesome. But some people don't have the privilege of that. So if your business is not dealing with other entrepreneurs, you should definitely get yourself in some sort of a network like that. It's super powerful. Nice. So what's next for Lynn? You've got all these things going on. You got the media company, the green room, podcast, a number of really good things. What's next for you?
Yeah, I think that the next phase of this is taking what I teach in the green room and broadening it. Because what I learned from every single person that came out of the green room, yes, they were getting on TV. We have 100% placement rate. Yes, they were great on TV, but they said to me, like, I'm communicating differently in my business. I'm doing my social media videos differently. I am doing my client calls differently. This is a new way of communication. And I realized the way that we effectively communicate on camera is the exact same as we need to in the boardroom. And so the next program that I'm going to be launching is called The Boardroom, which is
Oh,
turning
very
leaders
cool.
into thought leaders. And those leaders that want to become not just respected, but revered because of the way that they're able to relate and communicate. And that's key. So it's the world-class communication training after, building this world-class media training.
That's really good stuff. And I don't think, a lot of owners realize the power of building themselves their own personal brand, and build and help, which helps build, your business. And the best spokesperson for your business is you.
Yes.
And someone told me that once and it really clicked. And, hence here we are with, the Grow Show and Grow by Joe and everything else that I've been doing. And I think it's powerful, but it takes time,
That's right.
and you got to put in, the work, just like you have to, in your business. But and especially in the world that we are today, I mean, the way that you can market and brand yourself is pretty amazing. Where it definitely wasn't that easy years ago, especially before social media. So it's definitely something that you got to think about if you're watching the show, and don't be afraid to do it. Just do it.
That's
And
right.
fumble.
You think that it's so difficult. The methodology is really simple and it really works. But the thing is people are like, well, maybe, I already have this skill set, or it's not important because I'm not in a customer service business. When you have a business, you need buy-in, whether that's from an investor or whether that's from a client. They've got to buy in, and you're the only person they're going to buy in from. So if you're not selling them within the first 30 seconds, they can check out. I tell people you have 3 seconds to get someone to like you, and you have 30 seconds to get someone to trust you. And that's it. That's all you have. After that, you're just spinning your wheels. And so that's really what we teach people to do.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So true. And with all this wild stuff, like what's the big goal for you? What's next what's next for Lynn to accomplish? Lynn, the entrepreneur now.
I think this is the stage of grow. It's the exciting thing about being an entrepreneur is that you go into the, creative phase of thinking about doing something, then you build it, and then you're in the growth phase. You want to grow it. And that's where
Yeah,
I really feel like I am. I spent almost 2 years building these offerings, building the methodology, building the business, and now I'm really looking to grow it.
good stuff. Well, it's an exciting time for you.
Thank you.
Also, I just want to share. Lynn's going to be on my show that's coming out called the Fund Tank, where entrepreneurs are going to come pitch us, and we're going to pick a winner. I'm going to help them get approved for capital and pay the interest on their loan up to $50,000. So it's going to be exciting. Excited to have some fun in that show. Hopefully, you'll give me some tips.
I was going to say, no, I'm going to be giving the entrepreneurs tips. You need Joe's
Yes.
buy-in, so you better be selling us on this because
Yes.
we aren't going to buy in unless you do.
Exactly right. Make sure that you show up and you are prepared.
That's
We're
right.
taking applications now. We're actually getting a lot of steam for it. Steam's picking up on it.
Nice.
We have a lot of applicants already. We got limited spots, so make sure you get moving on that. And listen, if you're thinking about, getting on TV and you need some help with it, you want to move to that next level, definitely make sure that you reach out to Lynn Smith. And Lynn, I appreciate you being on today, and I look forward to seeing you on the show.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you in New York and getting these entrepreneurs, get them on our toes.
Yes,
Have a little fun with them.
yes, we're gonna have some fun, and some people are gonna come out feeling, I think, really good. And I, what I love about what I do is you're growing your business, I'm growing my business, and we're gonna get to help some other folks grow as well too. So it's really good stuff.
I'm looking forward to it, Joe. Thanks for having
All
me.
right, be well and take
You
care.
too. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Keep growing.